Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Diverse Dialogues podcast. I'm your host, Mateo.
And I'm Ruben.
And for today's episode of the podcast, we're going to be talking about the newest hit in the gaming industry right now, that being Marvel Rivals. That is our topic of the day. And before we get into our review of Marvel Rivals, because that's going to be our activity for today, we're going to be going over our 4 questions today. Now, in our last episode, I did all 4 questions, but going on forward, it will be 2 questions each. And I'm going to have Ruben take over for the first question, then me, then Ruben, then me again. And then after that, we'll go straight over to our review of Marvel Rivals. So Ruben, take it away.
Alright, so since most people call this the Overwatch killer, chances are, there's many similarities between Marvel Rivals and Overwatch. So my first question is there anything you like in Overwatch that you don't like in Marvel Rivals? I'll give my answer first. One thing I prefer in Overwatch that I don't like in Marvel Rivals is grinding for the Battle Pass. Now, in Overwatch, the way to grind through the Battle Pass is by doing daily or weekly missions. And the missions are usually something like do this amount of damage, or absorb this amount of damage, or simply win a game. However, with Marvel Rivals, the missions are very specific, such as play as this character on this map and get this many kills. So 1, you have to hope you get that map. 2, you have to make sure no one picks that character you want. And 3, you have to get that many kills.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And also like team up missions as well, where you have to expect one of the people in your team to want to play that character, so that way you can get the team up to be able to get that achievement. It's a whole cycle. Something that I like in Overwatch that I don't like in Marvel Rivals. That's actually a good question. Can't really think of anything right now, but if I were to think of one thing,
I remember we talked about the announcer.
Oh yeah, I'll make that as my reasoning. While with Overwatch, it is monotone. Athena.
Athena.
Yeah, Athena. And while Athena is monotone, it at least is not, you get used to it, and it's just more like background noise because you get used to it after listening for a while. I keep on forgetting the announcer name for Marvel Rivals.
Galactica.
Galactica, whatever the fuck. It's Galactus, but a female. Yeah, I mean, I don't find it annoying now, but I feel like over time, it's gonna get pretty freaking annoying.
Yeah, I agree.
Because hers is more high-pitched, hers is more, like, as anime voice as you can possibly get, so it's just hearing that over and over and over again. Big win! Just that stupid shit. So, yeah, I feel like that's my answer for what I like about Overwatch, is that Athena's more regal. I think that's the right word, right? Regal. More regal, more monotone. Even though monotone can sound bad, with her, it's a robot. It's gonna sound monotone. All right, I'll move on to my question next, which is, will there be lots of Marvel Rivals content on the channel? I'll answer first. I don't want to say lots, but I will say there will be shorts. There probably will be a gaming video or 2 in the channel. But yeah, because, good to capitalize off of getting a lot of views, since our bud Jordan, aka RS3000, had gotten a pretty big boost on his channel with a short of his actually, getting over 16,000 views. So congrats on him for getting that achievement. That's a really big goal. Like, that's pretty much over half of our highest short on the channel, but I'm not trying to cause drama. That was a thing that we pretty much tried to do on one of the shorts, but but no, just kidding.
It's just a joke, guys. Just a joke.
All right, but yeah, I don't foresee that we're going to be making a ton of Marvel Rivals content, compared to Jordan at least. But yeah, what do you have to say about it?
I mean, I can't really give my answer on that since I don't control the channel. But what's it? I do get clips for myself, just for my TikToks. In terms of what's meant, our commentary of us playing. I don't really record those. I just record whatever's in game. But like what Mateo said, we might get some views if we make videos on Marvel Rivals, and there might be a video or 2.
About to find out. And also, this podcast will also turn into a Marvel Rivals review video. So we're gonna take the clip of us talking about Marvel Rivals and our review of Marvel Rivals, I should say, and put that as a video and see how that goes. All right, moving on to Ruben's second question.
Okay, since Marvel Rivals is about like 2 weeks old now.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Starting tomorrow.
There's already like some problems in the community, mainly like the competitive community. So my question was, what are your opinions on role queue? Does Marvel Rivals need it?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I guess I'll start off. I did hear from an article that they are not considering adding role queue in Marvel Rivals. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, they are really trying to make sure they are as far away from Overwatch, even though they are a lot of things very similar of Overwatch to Marvel Rivals, but we'll get to that in a minute. When I heard that, I'm like, okay, it's not it's not the end of the world type deal, because whenever I get into Marvel Rivals matches, sometimes people actually do. Everyone starts off with DPS. I'm just going to use Overwatch terms because that's easy for us to remember. Everyone chooses DPS, but then eventually when they find out, oh, wait, everyone wants to be DPS, some of them do change and make it an even 2-2-2. I've had experience about that, but then sometimes there are people that just go straight to all DPS, as was old Overwatch. But yeah, I don't foresee that it's not going to be the worst thing on the planet, because role queue's not going to be in the game, or at least not for a very long time. But I do want to hear what you have to say about it.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not really like a competitive player when it comes to video games.
Neither am I.
Yeah, I'm more of a casual player. So maybe like I shouldn't really talk about role queue, but in my personal opinion, I don't think the game really needs a role queue, because since most Marvel Rival players are just, casual people who just love Marvel, chances are they just want to play their favorite character. I don't really think most people are focusing. Well, there's people out there who are focusing on the competitive aspect, but most people are focusing on the casual aspect of it.
Yeah. It's a very more appealing type game overall. Like, I think they're really just trying to stem away from what made Overwatch pretty mediocre and trying to make it as much of a crowd pleaser as it possibly can, or at least in my eyes.
Yeah, and like what Mateo said, if there's like too many DPS on the team, because a majority of the time it's just DPS, chances are someone will go healer, that being me, and then I somehow get MVP, which made me learn two things every single time I get those. One, supports can heal their teams, and two, supports can get kills, unlike DPS.
Indeed they do. All right, now moving on to our last question, my question. What are your guys' mains so far, and are there any characters that you are looking forward to being in Marvel Rivals? I'll start with mine. In the latest short that I posted about Marvel Rivals, it said that my main was Iron Man, and it still technically is, but Iron Man is pretty much considered amongst the community as the worst character in the game right now, so I'm not going to drop him because of that, but he is that character that I go towards if I feel like it's the right time to use him, or if I want to try to be smart with the character, I want to try using Iron Man, because I am like type of guy that likes a bit of a challenge when it comes to playing games. So even if he is the worst character in the game, I do foresee that there will be buffs in the future, because they pretty much confirmed that it will pretty much be buffs and not nerfs, but we'll get to that in a minute. But if playing Iron Man is going to be a bitch and a half, I'll just go with Psylocke as my secondary main, because Psylocke actually is really, really fun in my opinion. As for tank, I usually stick with Penny Parker, just because she's one of those characters where it's like, it's not that hard to use, and also you can be very sneaky about playing a character like her. So yeah, I feel like she's my secondary main. As for healers, I have not found a main for that, mainly because Ruben and Lulu pretty much just do healing like extremely well compared to what me, Glenn, or Jordan, or any of us can really do. So I just leave it to them as the healers, and I just stick with either tank or DPS. And as for a character that I'm really looking forward to, me and Jordan both are really looking forward to Ghost Rider being in the game. And I could see him either being a DPS or a tank, but I would like to be a DPS. And if he is even remotely fun, I cannot wait to hopefully have him be my main. And but yeah, I'm very excited about that. But Ruben, what are your mains?
All right, so my main is Jeff the Land Shark, a very controversial character in the community. What's in it? Basically, if you have a Jeff on your team, good. If there's a Jeff on the enemy team, bad. Um, Chances are they're probably going to nerf him since everyone and their grandma is asking for a nerf, which in all honesty it's just a skill issue. But even if he gets nerfed, I'll still probably play him. Uh, Other than Jeff, let's see here. Healers, let's admit. I used to use Luna Snow in the beta, but I'm pretty sure she's gotten weaker, or I don't know, maybe it's just a skill issue on my part. So I use Rocket Raccoon from time to time, which he's more of like a DPS support hybrid.
Yeah.
And Adam Warlock, who's like really clutch at some moments. In DPS, I use Namor, which I originally started playing as him as a joke, but when I used him, I was like, whoa, Namor is actually like a really good character, and I'm surprised most people don't really use him.
Yeah, he's like a slept-on character from what I've heard from the community.
And as for... Wait, is that the last?
Do you ever use tank?
No, hold on. Going back to DPS, I'm like, man, I really don't use DPS that often. As for tank, I barely play tank, but when I do, I play as Doctor Strange. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just Doctor Strange. I did try Captain America, but like only like a few times.
Yeah. Also, I did use Iron Man for the beta, and he was okay in that beta, but because of the amount of counters that he got lower in the tiers. But like I said before, well, again, I'm not that good at the game. Actually, I'm not good at the game. But at the same time, though, I indeed try with Iron Man, and I can be good. And I think the most kills I ever gotten in a match was like 37 with Iron Man, so I'm not the worst player. But I do at least want to try to be good because you can be really good with Iron Man. I've seen top players play Iron Man and they actually were really, really good. So I just need to use some of their strats and maybe I can be good with them. But on that note, now we're going to move on to...
no, the character I want.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I'm sorry.
All right. The character I've been requesting, I put this in like every survey whenever like I do the surveys to get the rewards or whatever. That character is Howard the Duck. Add him or else.
Yes. Honestly, I would actually really like to see that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like Deadpool and Howard the Duck, if they were like released together, because that's how they've been with the betas, they would release two characters at once. The two joking characters, I feel like that would actually be really, really funny.
Yeah.
Which Deadpool is also Deadpool is not necessarily my other really really expected character, but I would really like to see him because it's fucking Deadpool. Mm-hmm. Especially if he curses. All right. But on that note, before I rudely interrupted Ruben before he even gave his answer, now we're going to move on to our review of Marvel Rivals. So, after playing the game for about 2 weeks now, I think it's about time where me and Ruben give off our first impressions / our personal review of the game Marvel Rivals. So, I guess we could just start off with what we personally think about the game just from first impressions and both from beta and as well as from the first 2 weeks of playing the game. I would say, in my personal opinion, that it is a really fun game to play. It's great with friends, and it can be a blast to have with friends as well. And I would also say that while it has a lot of similarities to Overwatch, it's more of a free, more what's the right term? Like a more open type of game compared to Overwatch, where it feels more restricted and limited, and every character feels like you're walking on concrete shoes. But for Marvel Rivals, you have a lot more freedom. You have a lot more opportunities to do a lot more with these characters, which I feel like is the game's intent. But we'll get to that argument later. But yeah, I personally think that this game actually is really, really fun. But what do you have to say about it?
Okay, so let me just point out, I am not like the biggest Marvel fan at all. No, I'm not like the biggest Marvel nerd. My knowledge is like mainly the movies.
Yeah, me neither. I'm more of a Marvel movie fan as well.
But even as like a casual Marvel fan, I guess that's what you could call it.
Yeah.
I still say the game is pretty fun. Terms of gameplay, what's it? Yeah, like what Mateo said, you have like a lot more freedom. After our roll queue conversation we just had, just pick whatever your favorite Marvel character is, and just go with it. And even if you're not playing with friends, the game still can be fun. Um,
Chances are you also can probably be not that great at Overwatch, and you go into Marvel Rivals, and you'll probably be really good in that game because of how much freedom you have and how much powerful these characters are. Because the biggest like comparison of Overwatch is that compared to Overwatch, these characters are like millions of S tiers, like more broken than any of the characters on Overwatch. So
yeah, and if every character is broken, then no one is broken.
Mm-hmm. But I think now we can move on to our pros and cons of the game. And I did kind of touch on it on my first impression part, but as for the pros of this game, like I said before, it's a very fun game to play with your friends or alone, because despite what people say with Overwatch, I can't foresee myself playing Overwatch alone without wanting to hate myself afterwards and just throw the controller across the room. And with Marvel Rivals, I mean, it can be that if you're dealing with a whole bunch of horrible like teammates, because it's a very similar experience. But I at least don't want to hate myself afterwards when playing quick play or comp, even though I rarely play comp. Like I said, I'm with Ruben. I do not take this game competitively. I'd rather just have a fun time and just play with my friends. And as Ruben mentioned before, everyone is buffed, so everyone is overpowered, and we don't have to worry about who is more powerful than the other. But again, there are still characters that are more powerful than the others. I will also give the game that the visuals are actually really great. I really love how the game looks. I really like that comic book feel that it has. And I can only imagine what future characters are going to look like. Some costumes are a little but I do find that a lot of the characters look great. The game looks fantastic. It runs really well. There are a couple lags here and there, but that's what you expect when a game first releases. But yeah, what do you have to say about your pros?
Okay, actually, it's gonna take me a minute. Pros, like he said, the art style is actually really great. Love the comic book like art style. Gameplay, everyone's broken, therefore no one can be broken at the end of the day. And the cosmetics, they're actually worth something, because they're either like comic book accurate or they're movie accurate.
Yep.
So there's chances are there's a reason on why you'd want said cosmetics, unless it's that one Psylocke cosmetic, the one.
I'll also give it this. Its currency is a lot more accessible than it is with Overwatch, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I forgot what they're called, but the yellow currency, you could just spend like real money on that, and you can use that yellow currency to buy either like the blue currency, I forget the name again.
Units, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, and you could also use it to buy chrono tokens, which is used for the battle pass.
Yeah, purple, blue, and yellow. Those are the currencies you basically have. And
if you have a lot of money, basically just buy the yellow currency.
Or go through the battle passes in the future and just, hope and pray that you have enough that you'll be able to buy something with it. Because if you're a person like me that does not plan to spend money on video games, because I've done that before and I regret it, so I'd rather go through the long run of just hoping that I get the yellow currency for free, which is it's going to be really a lot difficult than easier said than done. But yeah, I do like how the game overall just basically is. It's a lot more accessible, and it's also a lot more fun. And that it gives you the opportunity to be able to. Oh, so I like their battle pass system, where if you haven't completed the battle pass before, you're still able to go back to that one and be able to complete all the challenges and stuff. I really, really like that, because as a person that only goes back and forth with games and doesn't play them often, like a certain somebody I know that has no life, I like that idea. So it's like, oh, I didn't get to finish the battle pass before. I can then just go back and just, go back to that one if I haven't completed that one yet, and then go from there. I would probably have to do a lot of catching up to do, but at least I can do it without having to worry about missing out on cosmetics that were there from the previous battle pass.
Now, in terms of cons, I will say, even though the game pretty much just launched already, there are some like bugs you will encounter in the game, and a lot of frame drops. For an example, Doctor Strange's portal, that actually causes like a lot of problems in terms of frame rate. That's why it has a long cooldown. Fun fact. And also the destructible maps could also cause, this destructible maps. They're cool and all. You can destroy the map, but again, that also causes some frame drops.
Yeah, I definitely heard about that. How because Doctor Strange's portal is technically like a really game-breaking mechanic, it really does hurt the effectiveness of the game a lot of times. If I were to find any cons about it, like Ruben said, it's mainly just the laggy parts of it, and that I've encountered like a lot of laggy matchups and a couple of bugs every now and then. So, but I was gonna say that the cons would have been maybe roll queue would have been nice, but this was before I learned that they were never gonna add roll queue, and I found out that people actually do change their characters either mid-match or before match, right before they all want to go DPS. So I don't really have that much cons, but like I said, and also what Ruben said, the lag and the certain characters being able to break the game sometimes, and some characters having pretty but this only applies to certain characters, but there are certain characters that have their kit either being way too overpowered or really horrible at times. So those are just personal gripes, but we'll get to our personal gripes later on in the video.
Yeah. And another one of my cons is the grinding for the battle pass, which I talked about earlier. And maybe Galacta's voice.
Yeah, those are our gripes from before, but I do agree with the idea that I hate grinding in general. I come to the consensus that I just hate grinding, and when I have to do stuff like complete missions like all the time, and it's a very slug process. It's a tedious process. It's very tedious.
Thankfully, there is an option. What's meant to knock down the daily missions. You could actually do practice versus AI, and it'll actually count for those missions. So you don't have to worry about like a sweaty team when you're trying to like get 20 kills as Captain America on Clintar.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. All right, now we could probably move on to Ruben's segment where it's a whole bunch of bullet points of certain things of the game, I think.
Mm-hmm. So first impressions, we already talked about that. Art style, we already talked about that. Cosmetics, like I said, I think it's great, if you want a cosmetic that's comic book accurate or movie accurate.
Yeah.
So
it's just that you have to grind a lot in order to get to that point if you're not looking to spend any money.
Yeah. Learning curve. Yeah, like if you're just a casual player, who just only wants to press one button, there's like some characters you could use. An example is Jeff.
Or Hela, where she has a freaking hit scan that everybody and their mom hates.
Yeah. And if you want like a complex character, you want to challenge yourself, like Iron Fist or something.
You can either go brain dead or full on Giga Chad brain mode if you want to try to play this game. But
yeah, I think it's great, for both casual and competitive players. So like, pretty much everyone has a chance to be good at the game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I like the learning curve of the game.
It feels a lot more fair too, I think, because every character is broken. It gives a casual a lot easier of a chance to be able to do good, rather than have all characters be mediocre at best, like Overwatch, and have someone that actually understands how to get around that mediocrity and be able to do good with the character and then get demolished when all you're trying to do is have fun. And example like that could be Fortnite, where you're put into a match, and then this was like before Overwatch became like its best version that it could possibly can be. Like this was like early Overwatch. What am I saying? Let me rephrase that. A good example of this could be Fortnite, where you're put into a lobby and you're basically hit with a bunch of random people that can have the biggest skill difference compared to you and can destroy you in 2 seconds when all you're trying to do is just get better. And it's a very infuriating feeling overall.
And another thing about the learning curve is that it does feel rewarding when you actually take the time to learn the more complex characters, like Black Panther, for an example. Black Panther is actually really good, but he's like one of the hardest characters to use in the game.
Yeah. Also, another thing, the star difficulty thing is not really exactly 100% accurate, because while Psylocke is considered a 5-star character, I would say she's more like 4, maybe pushing at 3, because once you understand how to use the character, she's not that like difficult at all. But like characters, for instance, like Spider-Man, that's a warranted character to be a 5-star character because of how much you need to really understand how to play, because there are many moments where Spider-Man players are either really, really good or your worst teammate in the game.
To all the Spider-Man mains, sorry to tell you this, but you're not the main character, okay? Not in this game.
To play like Spider-Man, you have to play with great power and great responsibility.
Good one. Alright, next, the maps. Since, the game just launched, there's only like
3 or
4 maps.
4?
There's like Asgard, Tokyo 2099, Clintar, Hydra, and Wakanda?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and some of those maps are actually like split into like 2 maps. Like Asgard, there's like a payload version and a control points version. So that's like, I don't think Clintar or Hydra have different ones. Either way, that's like roughly like...
It's a very limited map system compared to what Overwatch has.
That's like 10 maps right there.
Because like Overwatch has like more than 20 or something.
Yeah. Which even if there's like a small amount of maps, most of the maps do look pretty cool from an aesthetic standpoint.
Yeah.
Like Wakanda. It's probably my favorite map right now.
I actually even thought about it, like what could be my favorite map. If I were to guess on one of my favorite maps, yeah, I would say Wakanda or maybe one of the Asgard maps.
Okay.
Just because of how everything is structured, it actually does help with characters that fly around, as myself as an Iron Man main. But yeah, I do like that the game has really, really awesome maps and that you can actually destroy it, which, to be honest with you, I can already predict the future that Overwatch might do something similar with that. Take advantage of it and just try to,
I'll die in laughter if I actually see that in one of their trailers.
Well, I mean, right now, they already brought back 6v6, kind of. And it's how convenient that it happened when Marvel Rivals pretty much just came out. So, we'll get to the Overwatch argument pretty soon, but that in of itself would be very funny if they do end up implementing a environment breaking system.
Yeah. Which, back on the destructive maps, from a casual standpoint, it's cool to break things as, like, let's say Hulk. But once again, it can cause some latency problems, which, can kind of ruin the experience.
Yeah. It breaks the immersion.
Yeah. Rewards, which I pretty much already talked about with the Battle Pass system. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Tutorial. First off, tutorial in this game is optional, but and practice range. If you just want to try a character for the sake of whatever, go ahead. You can learn them for like a couple of minutes. Chances are you'll find at least one person you'll get the hang of.
Yeah. I also think I kind of like the practice range a lot more in Marvel Rivals than I do with Overwatch, in my opinion, because it's more large. Yeah. There actually is more to it, and it actually makes you. And since they're not just robots with larger hitboxes and also smaller health bars, it kind of matches more towards what the actual players are actually like. And you can go into a segment of the downstairs segment where it's like, oh, how, like, if a character, like, you actually practice with AI characters that can just move around a little bit. So it's really like, okay, it really wants you to actually be good instead of just sticking with robots and just shooting them and, having the easiest hitboxes you can imagine. But I don't know. I don't know how someone can be able to be complaining about the there's not really much to complain about there's not much to complain about the practice range, but I feel like certain people like Jordan would probably find ways to complain about it.
One thing I actually do, I didn't like in Overwatch practice range was that some of the bots that you can practice on, they had like a ceiling on top of them. So if the character had like knockback or whatever, you would not know how much distance that would cover.
Mm-hmm.
Versus in Marvel Rivals, the area is more open, so you can actually see how much knockback this does.
Indeed.
Another thing is the team up mechanic.
Yeah.
Which definitely gives a unique brand to Marvel Rivals gameplay
compared to Overwatch. Yeah, because it actually has
honestly,
more
compared to like most.
Really, yeah. Because this one really adds more of a actual working together type of feel to it, rather than just realistically Overwatch is like I hate to use this inside joke, but every man for himself when you really think about it, especially when you're going by yourself. But at the same time, though, you really do. I mean, no matter what, you still work together at the end of the day with Overwatch. But in terms of Marvel Rivals, it's like you need to really if you put your how do I put this actually because of the teamwork mechanic, it does add an incentive to actually want to work together with your teammates. It adds more thought to it and actually makes it a lot more of a unique and fun experience overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like the team up mechanic because, like he said, it does emphasize more teamwork. And I'm not a competitive player, but it already gives you some ideas of team comps. So, if you want your healers to do more damage, have Luna Snow and Jeff the Shark. If you want, a higher fire rate, have Rocket with Winter Soldier or Punisher. And, some of the team up mechanics, they're not like game changing. Like, let's say, I don't know, Hulk and Doctor Strange, for an example.
Or Iron Man, yeah, because all they really do is just a damage boost at that point. But,
yeah.
It is room to change. There are room for changes. Maybe they'll change up the team up mechanics a little bit here and there. Or they'll, change the characters most likely because I am looking forward to the idea that they are going to stick with buffing characters than they are nerfing characters. I assume they're going to nerf a couple of the characters. But I don't know exactly what extent. Because they could easily... there could easily be a moment where all their nerfs are just minor, damage nerfs or something.
Yeah.
But in terms of buffing, I feel like a character that desperately needs buffs, Iron Man, could definitely probably maybe get a new move or just get overall a damage buff. We'll see, because we just are in Season 0, so there's no telling what the sense of buffs and nerfs are to be had in the future of Marvel Rivals. So... until Season 1 comes up, and there's probably going to be a patch note. There's going to be patch notes for that as well. Most likely than not. We'll see how that goes, and maybe in the future we'll give off another review of the game. Maybe, nearing the game's, maybe a halfway point or something. But
or whatever its prime.
Yeah, at its biggest prime at the moment. or maybe its downfall, because there could be a moment like that, but we'll get to that probably very soon. But yeah, I do like the team up mechanic, and I hope that with future characters they do line up with, like, main roster characters, for instance, like Deadpool and Wolverine. Really excited to see what Ghost Rider has to be able to team up with, if he even does have a team up system. But yeah, overall, I do really like most of what Marvel Rivals has to offer. But there are certain gripes that are mainly stemming from the community and how they behave towards this game that I have gripes with.
Okay.
So let's move on to our personal gripes of the game. So the one thing I want to put out there, at the end of the day, guys, it's just mainly an Overwatch clone. You can say all you want that it's not the same experience, which is technically true, but I have to reiterate that it's still a similar game feel at the end of the day, because at the same time, you're still pushing a payload towards the end of the thing while you're either getting mutilated or just destroying the enemy team. And it doesn't help that a lot of the moves are very similar to Overwatch, as, for instance, Winter Soldier is pretty much like 3 different Overwatch characters put into one. Probably the reason why probably the reason why Jordan mains him. And it's still pretty much a similar experience, especially probably when you go into comp. So, but like I said before, I don't go to comp that often, so that's partially a thing of my thing. But like I said, at the end of the day, like I said, it's still the same experience in my opinion, but I do want to hear what Ruben also has to say about that.
Okay, so another thing about the community that I don't really like is that they are like over exaggerating this game, which, chances are, with some past games like Cyberpunk, for an example, that usually leads to like a bad community, which can also lead to like the downfall in the game, which, it's not good at all.
Yeah, I do also want to say also, this game mainly got so much of a positive reaction because Overwatch was doing pretty bad at the as of now and at the time. So if it wasn't for, I feel like, in my opinion, Marvel Rivals probably wouldn't be as hype as it is right now if Overwatch wasn't as bad of a game as it is right now, because that's pretty much where all of the hype is stemming from, is just that, oh, Overwatch is bad, this is the better Overwatch, basically. And if maybe, and hell, if anything, in my personal opinion, if Overwatch was doing at its prime for as of now, or in the past where there was little to no gripes about it, I personally think that Marvel Rivals probably wouldn't even exist.
Yeah.
Because it just feels like Marvel Rivals is just being the competitive version, just being the more it just feels like Marvel Rivals is just being the better Overwatch, just for the sake of being a better version of Overwatch. It doesn't really feel like it's trying to be anything new, just more so just being like, haha, I'm a one-up to Overwatch. That's just personally how I feel about it.
Yeah. And another thing with what's with the Overwatch and Marvel Rivals comparison, yeah, the games are similar. You gotta know, though, this is actually its own genre, the hero shooter genre. Examples would be like Paladins, or realistically, the founding father of hero shooters is Team Fortress 2. So, all the Overwatch glazers, you can't just say oh, Black Widow copied from Widowmaker, which, first of all, Black Widow existed way before half of you were even born. And 2, if you want to talk about Marvel Rivals copying Overwatch, Overwatch technically copied off of Team Fortress 2, since that was the first game of that genre.
It's the same type of deal with I'll go into a fighting game example of this one. Conan the Barbarian, which is a character coming to Mortal Kombat 1 very, very soon. He plays a lot similarly to Tusk, but the thing is, Tusk was heavily inspired by Conan the Barbarian, so it's that same thing of Marvel Rivals, where, yes, Black Widow is heavily inspired by Widowmaker, but at the same time, though, Widowmaker was there way before. But I will admit, them making Black Widow a sniper character does feel a little bit on the nose. at the same time, though. But she plays more like Ashe, in my opinion, than she does as Widowmaker.
Yeah, I agree.
So, at the same time, guys, just chill out. But at the same time, no, I kind of get the complaints. Also, another thing I kind of want to... This is more of like a fun take rather than just like... But also, I feel like this is something that the Marvel Rivals community will probably agree with. If Marvel Rivals ends up making a PvE, something that Overwatch failed to do, no matter what the case may be, Marvel Rivals will win. Marvel Rivals will just take the cake and Overwatch will be dead.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just like a fun idea that I had thought of, but I mean, if they actually did do that, then I feel like Overwatch would probably just barrage Marvel Rivals with a whole bunch of lawsuits as well.
Yeah.
Like a gigantic company that I know of that tried to take over the throwing ball and catching monster mechanic. If you know, you know.
What's my funny thing? A few days ago, I actually heard an article of an employee at Blizzard, trying to sue Marvel Rivals because of Black Widow. Say, even the name Black Widow is on the nose with Widowmaker, but everyone's saying Black Widow's existed since 1960 or something. Which was so embarrassing, but it was so funny as well.
But they could get away with the ass growing mechanic.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm just joking. But I think I will end off with my last gripe with I would not be surprised because of how much traction this game has gotten. I would not be surprised if in the future this game becomes forgotten.
Yeah, same. That's happened with Fall Guys, Among Us, I don't know, freaking...
And the only reason why I'm saying this is because the two biggest Marvel Rival players in the group right now, that being Jordan, aka R33000, and Glenn, they're taking this as if it's the next best thing, and all they ever really do is just talk about Marvel Rivals, and that's pretty much it, which makes sense because it just came out and it's a very hype game, but they're taking it as if they will never go back to playing Overwatch, or they will take it as if Overwatch is just the worst game ever, and Marvel Rivals, as Ruben said, I think before, that all they ever talk about is just these two games as if there's no other games that exist anymore.
Yeah. Look, if hero shooters aren't your thing, I don't know, try a platformer, okay? And if platformers aren't your thing, try a visual novel. I don't know, maybe you'll like it.
Or if you like a story-based game, RPG or a JRPG, whatever the case may be. Even though I don't like playing those games, I mean, besides Pokemon, obviously, but...
Yeah.
Or if you want to release some aggression, play some fighting games. Or if you want to just play a laid-back, and just express your creativity, play Minecraft. There's a whole bunch of options.
And if video games aren't hitting, just go outside.
Exactly. Especially how he said it. Go outside.
Yeah.
But I guess to close our thoughts about this game, if you're someone like me that just wants to play the game and have fun, you'll actually enjoy Marvel Rivals. And if you're looking to be competitive with the game, I will say that you don't really have much to worry about because of how many characters are overpowered. You could easily just swipe through competitive if you choose the right character and you are actually good with games like Overwatch or Marvel Rivals or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And I will say this, even as a casual player, I try not to be a one-trick Jeff main. So I do try some characters here and there, like Adam Warlock, Namor, etc.
Yeah.
So it's good to just not stick with one character.
Yeah, because you will look like a freaking twat if you're just that type of person that just insta-locks into a DPS, which I can be that person, granted, but I do see if everyone's just being TPS, I'll be like, all right, I'm switching over to playing Penny Parker because this is just ridiculous. But yeah, if I were to give this game a rating out of 10, so far, it's a very fun experience. I would say that this game is ranging towards an 8 to an 8.5, somewhere around that range, because it is a fun game. I do enjoy it with friends, but do I see this as a game I want to keep on playing over and over again? It's 50-50 about that one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would also say it's an 8. It's a fun game and all, but, chances are, I'll stop playing, especially when I'm grinding through missions. So, If I don't want to do that, I just play a different game. Okay.
If anything, I'm mainly playing it just for the sake of convenience. But yeah, But there you go, guys. That's our review of Marvel Rivals. I hope you guys enjoyed. And we hope that you think that our opinions are valid. And if not, try not to be like those people in the comment section of our Mortal Kombat tier list video that... I guess we should reiterate that, yes, these are just our opinions. You can have your opinions. You can say that the game is the best thing on the planet. We won't judge. Because the last thing we want to do is start controversies because this game just came out. So so there shouldn't be really any controversy that should be ensued from this. But like we said, if you enjoy the game, that's perfectly fine. And if you don't like the game, then...
That's fine.
That's
Switch
fine.
off. It's okay.
You're not going to be viewed poorly because of it. And if you're someone that just plays Overwatch just for the sake of playing Overwatch or get paid to play the game, then just switch it off. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, you get to play whatever game you want to play, and we're just here telling us our own opinions about it. And like we said, we still gave it a very positive review of Marvel Rivals because, it's still a fun game at the end of the day. And whatever the case may be for you, that's just what you would want to... Whatever the case may be, whether you like it, if you like it or not, cool. But we do want to hear what you guys have to say about it and what you have to say about our opinions about it, and start some conversations in the comments down below. And we are curious to see what you guys have to think about it. And if there's anything that you think that we missed on, leave it down below. Or if there's anything that you agree on, leave it down below in the comments. So, and if you guys want to check out our previous episode where we talk about our previous videos in the past, it'll be in the link in the description below of this video. And expect a regular shortened version of this review in the future. I'll make that into an edited video, and we'll see how long that video is and also how that does. But overall, we are happy with the game, and we are very excited to see how this game becomes in the future, since this is only Season 0, as we mentioned before. And I'm very excited to see if the characters like Ghost Rider or Deadpool become playable characters in the future.
Or Howard the Duck.
Yes. But yeah, I'm overall happy with the game, and it's at least another game that we get to play and not have to hear... Well, actually, I was about to say it's a game that doesn't make us want to hear Jordan complain, but again...
Nah, he complains about everything.
Yeah, he complains about everything.
He'll complain about Power Wash Simulator or something. Doki Doki Literature Club. Freaking Pong.
He'll complain about the air that he's breathing at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. But that will do it for today's podcast. Ruben will now give us a sneak peek of what will happen in our next podcast.
Okay. So, this idea was actually formed literally last night of recording this. At one point, I wanted to make a tier... Okay, so it's a Dead by Daylight themed one. And I wanted to do a tier list on who is the least scariest killer, spoiler alert, it's Skull Merchant, to most scariest killer, which I won't say. I wanted to do this for a while because, not everyone will agree with my opinions, which honestly I should just do it anyways. Like, most people won't find, let's say, the Singularity to be scary. Me, personally, I find the Singularity scary. So I wanted to do it with, like, some other person to be like, does the Wraith seem scary?
Yeah, I agree. And even though I'm not a person that's a humongous Dead by Daylight player, or I see myself as like a major casual, but I do like a lot of what the killers have to offer in their lore. So, and being with someone that does play the game a lot, I am very curious to see how that goes. Yeah. But I am very excited about that. And even though it's a podcast and you guys don't get to see the tier list itself, we will like talk about it.
Well, like,
and
actually say it.
Yeah, and at the same time though, as of like we said with the Marvel Rivals review, we will make that into a regular review video. And for Dead by Daylight, we'll also make that into a separate tier list video. So you guys get to watch the shortened version if you want, and then go back to hear our full extended version into this video and as well as the future podcast video. So yeah, expect the next podcast video to be on what day? So today's the 19th. The 2nd of January. So pretty much the second day of the new year. So if wherever you guys are listening to this, Happy New Year to everybody and Merry Christmas. And on that note, we will see you guys in the next episode. See ya.
See ya.